The Balloon Boy hoax? I remember that very well. I don't think the story's... Well, actually, it's been a long time, but I don't think the story is as interesting now that it's over. But at the time... Keep in mind, at the time, this story was still being told, like, on radio. Like, I remember hearing most about Balloon Boy on radio. I actually didn't even know Internet Historian made a video on this. So I was, like, glued to it as it developed. Which is why I thought it was so fascinating, but I think now that it's over, I don't think it's as interesting, but I could be wrong. We can do the Internet Historian video. Does he cover the whole thing? It's only 13 minutes. Does this cover the majority of it? Okay. He's a prime butterman.
Good evening. I'm MoistCr1TiKaL, and tonight on Unsolved Internet Mysteries. Balloon Boy. Here's the story you probably know. On October 15th, 2009, Falcon Heaney, 6 years old, hopped into a balloon and was carried off into the air. For 2 hours and 60 miles, he traveled across the vistas of Colorado, eventually landing just shy of Denver International Airport.
I actually thought this was real speed, and I thought this was the fastest man alive.
There was no boy. At first, it was feared that Falcon had fallen along the way, and a manhunt started to find the boy's body. But after a couple of hours, Falcon wandered into the living room of the family home and confessed that he had been hiding in a box in the attic of the garage. It was one of the biggest news stories and memes of the year.
Yeah, it was huge.
During the event, Balloon Boy was also the most searched term on Google. But it was an expensive game of hide and seek. Up to 50 rescue workers were involved, including 2 military helicopters, police, the Colorado National Guard, the Federal Aviation Administration, ambulances, firefighters, and the balloon drifted so close to the airport that a bunch of flights had to be rerouted. The total cost of the incident was estimated at $2 million.
Woo!
Press flocked to the Heaney home, and the family gave an interview on CNN. And then, this happened.
He's asking Falcon, did you hear us calling your name at any time? You did?
You did?
Why didn't you come out?
You guys said that we did this for a show.
Police and the
fucking ruined! You ruined it, Falcon!
To publicity.
Why?
The mother and father were charged, and they pleaded guilty. So that's the story. Or is it? To this day, Richard Heaney, the father, adamantly claims it was never a hoax, just an experiment gone wrong. And after doing my own research, I'm starting to believe him. This is the story you probably don't know.
Slow.
Let's take a closer look at Richard Heaney. He's an interesting guy. He likes to do science and chase storms.
Getting into the path of the oncoming tornado.
He is also an inventor.
Hi, I'm inventor Richard Heaney, and boy do I love my truck! That's why I would never permanently mount toolboxes or a lumber rack on a back now.
Jesus, Richard.
Use my pickup to pick up hot chicks. Yes, 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 yes.
You have a wife, Richard.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this?
He's obviously nuts and a bit of a human meme.
I just invented perpetual motion.
And what about the rest?
I'm a fan.
Youngest, Falcon. Eldest, Bradford. His wife, Mayumi, originally from Japan. And middle child, Ryo. The family appeared on the hit reality TV show Wife Swap twice, and it was their behavior on the show that made the police and the press suspicious. Before we break down the case against Richard Heaney, I'm going to show you raw footage from the liftoff. Now, first thing, did you see it? Helium canisters. 3. They're big and they're expensive, and it's much more helium than they would need for a one-time hoax, but the right amount for ongoing experiments. This is a purpose-built structure for Richard's
Easy tier 1,
experiments.
Hail Hydra.
Seems elaborate for a hoax. A high voltage sticker, because Richard really was testing electronics on board.
Hold on, Brad. Cut. Record.
Yeah.
This is a release cord, not a tether, by the way.
Yeah! What do you know? Helium works!
Are you in? Taylor!
One of the loose tethers.
Get out! Taylor, now!
Now Richard gets mad, and it really doesn't feel like acting. Either he genuinely is losing his temper over the loss of his balloon, or he's deliberately making himself out to look like an asshole.
Spider-Man! Get Taylor out, Jesus!
The kid sure is doing a good job of acting too, and remember that they would only have one take because there's only one balloon.
I told you to tie down Taylor!
Guy's kind of a pioneer in, like, viral video marketing, though.
A fourth canister.
No, he's in there. What? He's in there. I saw him roll in.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
He was just right here. Falcon! Falcon!
No, man.
But here's another weird thing. This photo from the police shows that Richard's electrical equipment for readings and experiments is still on board. Why? Why let your stuff get smashed out in a field somewhere? Now that you've seen the liftoff...
Well,
let's
that's a
look at the
bit of an
case
overstatement. This is his testing for electronics. It's a fucking, like, Lowe's bucket. And weed. And a water bottle. What is Richard part of the fucking codename Kids Next Door? This is his high-tech gadgetry that he leaves in his balloon? Ace Hardware. Sorry, I didn't mean to disrespect all Ace Hardware fans out there. Sorry.
Why? Why let your stuff get smashed out in a field
Easy
somewhere?
tier 1
Now
no-bot.
that you've seen the liftoff, let's look at the case against the Heenies. That the balloon couldn't have lifted Falcon. He called the news before 911. The live
True.
slip-up on television. A confession and a guilty plea.
Thanks for the resub,
Pretty
Nuggets.
airtight, right?
In the Prime Rozzy.
Nope. Let's start from the top. Could this balloon lift a boy? The balloon is 17 feet wide by 6 feet tall. With this, we can figure out the surface area and
Oh,
the
Jesus
volume.
Christ, math.
We also know the
We're coming in
construction
hot.
materials. Plastic, alfoil, cardboard, thin plywood, duct tape, wire, strings...
Same materials
The
NASA
balloon's
uses.
total volume is over 900 cubic feet. That gives us a lift potential of 65 pounds, minus the weight of the craft, and Falcon only weighed 37 pounds. The police weighed him. That gives you enough lift potential to raise the boy with another 11 to 12 pounds to spare. Next point. You're about to hear
Thanks
the
to tier
911
1
call.
Mimi guy.
The media and police both said that Richard called the news first, then 911. That was a lie. The phone
Oh!
records show that he called the FAA first, because he knew they could track the balloon better. Then they told him to call 911 and he immediately did so. When he did, the 911 operator put him on hold. When taken off hold, Mayumi picks up the phone.
Okay. And so it was an experimental plane?
It's a flying saucer.
And that's gone too, right?
I'm sorry.
How long is the flying
Thanks,
saucer
Prime
gone as
Hydro.
well?
We gotta get my son.
Okay. Hang on just 1 second. Don't hang up, okay? Just a minute.
They get put on hold for a second time.
Amanda, does it have any kind of a tracking device or anything on it?
No, it's held together by popsicle sticks and dreams.
Okay, where was the saucer? Was it in the backyard?
Yeah, here, take that. Hello?
Yes, is this Richard?
Yes, it is.
Was the flying saucer in the backyard?
Yes.
Okay, it obviously has electronics where he can know how to work it. He gets it up off the air, off the ground.
No, he doesn't know how it operates.
So we are sure that he's in that.
Yeah, we looked everywhere, and then my son just said because we had it tethered, it wasn't supposed to take off.
So there's no electronics on it. There's no tracking device, right?
No.
Okay, hang on just a second.
By this point, they've now spent 20 minutes with the police, and they've been put on hold for a third
Thanks to Resub
time.
Fart and the
So it
Prime.
was no wonder
Purist
that they called the
and Royal.
news and asked for a helicopter. Next point. What did Falcon have to say about the answer he gave on CNN?
Well, what happened was, this Chinese reporter walked up to me. He asked me if I could show him how he got in the attic for his TV shows. So I said, okay. And then after that, another person asked me, so what happened about this balloon thing? I was like, I did it for the show. I said that because I thought he was talking about the Chinese guy.
I don't know what that
Not a
means.
great excuse.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
But it's within the realm of possibility. On the day of the Heaney's arrest, the police issued a warrant to take phones, computers, documents, cameras, everything they could. And what did they find? Nothing. Nada. They interviewed Falcon, Brad, Rio, each several times without parental supervision. Again, what did they get? Nothing.
The truth!
So the police had nothing. That's not great for the prosecution. So the police would need a confession. They tried Richard, but he wasn't admitting to anything. So they pressed Mayumi, and she spilled the beans. But hold on, because her confession sucks. English is not her first language.
Thanks to Resub Shiba.
Police arranged the meeting under false pretenses, so she didn't have a lawyer with her. And also, it doesn't make any sense. She said in the confession that they built the craft only 2 weeks prior. Interesting. Here's Sherry from Wife Swap.
There was one point where I had to hold the spaceship and clean it and carry it, and Falcon ran into the spaceship and hid in there.
Built 2 weeks prior? Well, Sherry just said that she was cleaning it during filming, which was 8 months ago.
Are you suspicious of him, and if so, why?
Knowing him, I couldn't imagine that he would tell the whole country that his son was up in a balloon.
She also speaks about Falcon.
What's Falcon like?
Literally is the type of child that you would actually see that would go into the spaceship. So it wasn't surprising that maybe Richard might have thought he was in there.
So that leaves a big question. Why did the police pick on Richard Heaney?
I'm being persecuted, I think, for the benefit of Albany. His term runs out in 2011. He's probably going to run for governor, who knows, but not off my
A
back.
political target?
How dare Richard Heaney accuse an honest man like Sheriff Alderton of... Oh. Richard said that he was taking it to court. He would not plead guilty. He would not confess. So over the next month, the police applied pressure, bringing up topics such as Mayumi's citizenship status and
This is fucking wild!
It was lose-lose for Richard. Potential felonies, the cost of court and lawyers, his wife could be deported. The story was #1 on Google and the press had already decided it was a hoax, so any jury would be stacked against him.
What?
It was a hoax.
Yeah, we know.
Guilty or innocent, this plea was the only sensible choice.
Thanks to the
he
Prime
had.
Ukrainian.
The Heaneys were handed a $36,000 fine and a short term in jail. And Richard would have to formally apologize in court before a judge
fuck.
and the police.
I'm very, very sorry. And I want to apologize to, all the rescue workers out there. And the,
Yeah, this convinced me. I feel like Richard Heaney was innocent.
people that got involved in the community.
Wasn't a purposeful hoax. Just a shit inventor.
Lastly, despite poring over dozens of interviews over the span of 8 years, I have not been able to find one instance where Richard has been caught in a lie. There's evidence of the police lying, evidence of the media lying. Richard's story has not changed.
Fuck, that's
So where
big.
does that leave us, really? One piece of evidence.
Thanks to Risa Bull
This
and
interview.
Riddler.
The testimony of a sleep-deprived 6-year-old who's not even really listening to the question. That's it. Those 10 words are the main substance of the case against Richard Heaney. When I first started researching this story, I thought it would be a fun chance to take a few cheap shots at some liar from Colorado. But now I'm not so sure. I'm not saying for certain that this isn't a hoax, But I think there is more here than what was decided in the press and by memes in October of 2009.
Hi, I'm inventor
That
Richard
was
Lee.
wild.
If you itch like a son of a twitch, then you need my latest invention.
Never mind. He's guilty. It's a terrible commercial.
Oh man, this thing feels good. This
Never
thing's
mind.
fun.
You ruined it, Richard. You fucked up. It was a hoax. That was wild. Balloon Boy's family discusses life 10 years after the incident.
You may not remember 16-year-old Falcon Heaney.
He didn't want the food.
But you'll certainly remember his unusual story.
We're going to turn to Colorado.
Really, Body
and that
Farm.
balloon flight that has garnered
I'll
so
check it
much
out.
attention.
Authorities tracked that balloon for 2 hours, fearing that 6-year-old was inside on a misguided joyride.
Hey, Red.
Anybody ever throw that at you these days?
Yeah, a lot.
But you're laughing about it.
Yeah. It's just,
Wait, it happens a lot?
yeah.
What's your reaction to it?
I'm just like,
He says he doesn't remember much about the incident that earned him that nickname, but his dad, Richard, certainly does.
Surely you know, this was not just some little story that was going to go away. You know that, right?
Afterward, you know.
Exhibits Bull.
After the fact.
And yes, I did Bull.
It just never dawned on me. Falcon appears, and you know, I didn't know there was. I mean, actually,
Wait, what did it
TV hooked up?
Search truth. Internet historian Richard Heaney. He's become an internet historian fan. Fuck yeah. He's rocking the merch. Well, it's his merch, Richard's, but referencing internet historian. Fuck yeah.
So I had no idea what was going on.
It's a flying saucer. Yeah.
10 years ago, millions were glued to their TVs, watching as this giant balloon drifted across the Colorado sky.
A search is underway for a 6-year-old boy who may or may not have climbed into a homemade helium balloon.
It captivated cable audiences with wall-to-wall coverage. The incident, an apparent emergency. Falcon Heaney's life seemingly was in danger.
Okay, how long has the 6-year-old been missing?
Just a few minutes.
All they needed was Lawn Chair Larry to blast it with his BB gun.
Sounding frantic on this 911 call.
So we are sure that he's in that.
Yeah, we looked everywhere, and then my son just said, "Be verified." He said, "Yeah, he went inside just before it went off because we had it tethered. It wasn't supposed to take off."
Exit Prem.
The family had been
Exarage
recording
and
the
resub
saucer
Strix.
seen here in this home video just moments before that 911 call. The Colorado National Guard was put on alert. Helicopters at the ready.
And the resub
Flights
chips.
around the area were diverted. After nearly 2 hours, that flying saucer started losing its lift.
5, 4, 3. They're trying to grab the balloon on the ground. He just touched the ground.
It dropped into a field some 50 miles from.
Why did this guy fall? Like, oh.
Rescuers scrambled
the
to
rope.
find the boy in the balloon while viewers held their breath.
I'm going to say that this kid is going to be okay. It's been a safe landing.
But as it turned out, Falcon was never in the balloon to begin with. Instead, he'd been hiding in the attic at home. Later that evening, the Heaneys talked to
Exit Tier
CNN,
1
and
waxy.
when Falcon was asked why he hid, the little boy said this.
We did this for the show.
What did he mean we did this for the show?
I have no idea.
That's
interview
rough.
sparked speculation over whether the whole thing
Oh,
was
shit.
an act. Authorities began calling it a hoax. At the time, saying the Heaneys, who had reportedly been shopping a reality show and had already been on ABC's Wife Swap, staged the stunt to gain fame.
Richard and his wife, Mayumi, insisted it was not staged, but eventually pled guilty to related charges and served
Thanks, Resub
minimal
Guy
jail
Bot.
time. Mayumi did initially confess,
Maybe, Red.
but she
And
says
thank you for the bits.
only out of fear.
Mayumi, did you actually think you could lose your kids in all this?
Yes, I did.
You thought somebody would actually take your boys away from you after all this?
And I thought I'm going to be deported. Then I won't see my husband or kids. I won't be able to see them. So
I mean, that is what they told her.
because it was a hope family together.
Real.
The family now lives in Florida. Richard still maintains that it wasn't a hoax and says he was a victim of character assassination.
And how, after you stack all that stuff, throw in the interview that was on CNN with Wolf Blitzer, you throw all that together with a background you have, why wouldn't people go?
This is another
"You know
hit
what?
piece. This is another hit piece, which I anticipate.
Here?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's a
going
little
to take to change
combative,
public opinion
Richard.
that you know is still out there about what happened 10 years ago?
What would be nice is if the media could actually go, yeah, Richard's got a point, but it's so biased, okay? The media continues on with the same narrative.
And all these years later?
Do you feel a sense still that you need to clear your name?
Oh, most definitely.
Still, 10 years later?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why is that still so important to you?
I've lost many opportunities. I've lost a lot of opportunities.
True.
I've had people contact me about things I've invented, and the deal went south. And, you know, because they find out who I am. And the thing that gets me is the media never tells my side of the story.
He says the incident
That is also
a learning
true.
experience for his family.
How has this impacted you all?
Oh, man. It's had a very positive effect.
Positive.
Very positive, because I closed off our family to the outside world. And I just said, you know, we're going to go to homeschooling.
Oh, boy.
We're going to do activities together. And I'm going to be the guy that spends time with them.
It sounds like
That does not sound very fun for them, if I'm being honest.
A tighter-knit family.
Yes, we are definitely a tighter-knit family.
Since the incident, the Heaney boys have started a band. Their heavy metal talents on display in his 2014 music video for a song aptly titled No Hoax.
We don't really want to associate ourselves with that. We just want to rock out.
You have any current TV or
Your
reality
debut
show?
song was No Hoax, though.
No.
Would you take an opportunity, a reality show?
Well, that's such an interesting
Would you
twist.
rather get out of the spotlight at this point, given what the spotlight has done to you?
Yeah, I don't want to be in the spotlight. Okay, now I'm sitting here with you with a light in my face, you know, because of this. People need to know this right here, this truth.
Shout out internet historian.
My boys, they love playing music. They
Great
love
YouTuber.
performing, and it's a real passion with them.
Okay, I'm gonna piss my pants. Oh, fuck, it's so close to being done, though. Okay.
So if any opportunities come down the pike, I hope it's for them.
For Nightline, I'm TJ Holmes in Archer, Florida.
Okay, nice.
Hi.
Perfect timing. I gotta pee real bad. I'm also gonna fill up my water. I'll be right back. Thanks for your sub, Psycho, Rach, and the gift sub drag. 1 sec. Thanks for gift sub, Waxy. Thanks to the Prime J, please no. And the resub Luda. Didn't you also predict the GME squeeze, Alien? And I remember you said the same shit about AMC then too. If AMC shoots up, that's really cool. I just highly, highly, highly doubt it. And you have been, like, wrong consistently. But I'm excited. Fuck it. Thanks to the Prime Godzi and the resub E-Drind. Resident Evil 8, I'll have to download it, but yeah, I'll probably just stream it tomorrow. Thanks to Prime Public and the resub Toasty. Yep, I'll be ready for the new Destiny raid. Can you watch Heaney's follow-up to the Internet Historian coverage of his story? Richard Heaney responds to it? I don't know where I'd find it. The Downfall of Tony the Tiger. Yeah, fuck yeah. That's a good one. Thanks to Resub Electronics, Diamond, and the Bits Elgato. Is Rich... No. This is still just from his video. Unless Richard Heaney's channel is incognito mode.
Here it is. Alright?
On April 19th, a video called Balloon Boy, The Untold Story was uploaded to Internet Historian. It proposed that the Balloon Boy hoax of 2009 may
this
have
is his
been
other
a
channel.
legitimate accident and no hoax at
Thanks,
all.
Resub Carly.
On May 11th,
I totally forgot
having
about that.
seen the video, Richard Heaney got in touch. He sent through several pieces of evidence to support his ongoing claim of innocence. The most compelling was a video that he made in 2010. This is Richard's side of the story. Corruption in the justice system.
Impossible.
Before I get into the facts, I want to tell you one thing. All right. My attorney was David Lane. I took that plea because
He's a prime too high.
I told him I wasn't going to take. There's no way I'm going to plead guilty.
That'd be
no
cool,
way I didn't do it.
Clorox.
So he said, before you make a decision, look into the case I'm now suing Larimer County for and Fort Collins Police Department. He said, look into Tim Masters. So I went home, I looked at the Tim Masters case online. It was mind-boggling.
Happy early birthday, Big Mike.
Man.
And thank you for the 20.
They framed this poor guy. Tim Masters went to prison for 10 years. He didn't do it.
Tim Masters was exonerated through DNA evidence. He later sued Larimer County and the city of Fort Collins and received a $10 million settlement. The case of who murdered Peggy Hattrick remains unsolved.
Broderick, I think his name is, Lieutenant Broderick.
Well, let's prove Richard Heaney's innocent through DNA.
He perjured himself on affidavits, perjured himself on the stand, and I guess they fabricated evidence, to my understanding, and they withheld evidence. The guy goes to prison. Jolene Blair was the prosecutor. She became a judge because of that.
Judge Jolene Blair was later censured by the Supreme Court for withholding evidence favorable to the defense in the Tim Masters case.
Lieutenant Broderick, I think I'm saying his name right, he became a commander. These guys got raises. You know, they went up the ranks because of this. So when he said that to me, I get it. I get it. Fine. Anyway, that is why I had to do what I had to do. On top of the fact that they were threatening to deport my wife. So just try to imagine.
They
They gather up all their lies and all their evidence. And
Or
then
light, excuse me.
I've got to fight from jail. I lose my kids. Mayumi's deported to Japan. What would you do?
The purpose of the balloon experiment.
Everything about this was farcical. It's like anything that they could make up, they just simply added on. I mean, it was never a weather balloon. You seem to like this title, Balloon Boy. I hate it. That's not what it was. It's insulting. What it was an experiment in the backyard to see if I could get the thing to move left or right. Fill it full of helium. 5 tanks. And if you charge the outside skin on the top, positive. You charge the bottom skin, negative. And section the panels out, you might get propulsion. I don't know. It was just a test. So look at this.
Well, it's still a dumb test, though.
You fill it full of helium, and it acts like a balloon.
Like, but why, though? What did you want to do with it?
Take the Byfield-Brown effect of lifter technology and add that to it.
Fabrications by the prosecutor.
So after
Just for fun? It's very expensive just for fun, I think.
Okay, I can't believe what I'm hearing. And this prosecutor,
He invented drones.
stands up there before the judge.
Thank you, Prime
before the
Sammy.
courtroom. And let's not forget, the entire world was watching. On TV, the entire planet Earth is watching the stupid case. And he's lying. I want to show you this. They gave me a CD. See that CD? That's the logo. And on here are photographs, okay? The first photograph was taken on October 15th, 2009. Okay, so after the flying saucer landed, photograph number PA150342. If you zoom in on it, you can clearly see the high voltage PC board from the stun gun and the battery connector. All right, now let's zoom in.
All right, and?
The next photo.
Okay.
PA150330. It clearly shows 3 9-volt batteries.
Fuck.
3 of them.
He's making a nuclear reactor.
He said that there was 3 9-volt batteries hooked up to a stun gun, and it would produce volts, therefore no one should touch it. What they do find inside is 2 1.5-volt batteries hooked up to an 8 timer. No indication that there is a stun gun in there.
He's claiming 2 1.5.
Okay, I see. I see why that matters now.
Size of the balloon.
We then took measurements of the balloon, which measured 16 feet across and 6 feet tall. And the compartment below was 2 feet. In this next photograph, PA150362, you see they pulled the measurement from the outside to the center pin at 10 feet. You double that, it's 20 feet wide, just like I said. So in order for them to somehow prove that I somehow had knowledge that it wasn't going to lift up that much weight, they lied and they said they pulled new measurements and it's 16 feet wide. So they get this Professor Jones from CSU to come in and back it up and validate that a 16-foot wide flying saucer is not going to pick that up.
Mr. Haney was asked during this incident what the capacity...
This is actually kind of wild, I'm not going to lie. Holy shit.
Mr. Haney provided a lifting capacity for 72 pounds. The Sheriff's Department had contacted a professor at CSU to determine whether, based on the capacity he had and the amount of helium he had, whether or not it would be possible to lift up Falcon Haney, and whether it's possible that he was in this balloon.
Basically, he stated the craft would probably not have been capable of sustaining flight with Falcon aboard. However, he did add, based on the description of the craft provided by Richard Haney, originally, those calculations, when used, would have been able to sustain flight.
But why go to such lengths just to fuck Richard Haney in the ass?
10 foot 2 inches. You
Why?
see that? 10 foot 2 inches.
Is it focused?
Is it focused? Get back. Okay, now look at mommy. She's right in the center. I mean, how could you miscalculate this at 16 feet? They know that they were lying.
So they tried to get Mayumi to sign something.
He looks like
incarcerated.
Tony Stark
Had she
would,
assigned
I would
it,
imagine, in the real
we
world.
would have been screwed.
Just with
Call to 911.
fucking plastic
So
balloons
perhaps
instead
one
of
the biggest
weapons.
lies of all that perpetrated more media frenzy was the fact that this investigator, Bob Heffernan, lied on his affidavit in order to get a search warrant and then later an arrest warrant. And the sheriff was in the next room, and everybody heard me say, clearly heard me say, the order in which the phone calls were made. Then, about an hour later, they run down the hall, whatever they had to do, to fill out this affidavit. And then they got a judge to sign it based on that lie.
I see some people in the chat just saying, let it go.
Yes. And my understanding is they tell you...
Are you fucking serious? This man's whole life was completely changed as a result of this whole thing.
I would have called. I actually thought to call 911. I'm going, you know, they don't have any...
If it's truly fake,
So that's why I thought of the FAA.
there's a good reason why he would not let this
So
go.
I called 911. I shouted to my wife. I said, I don't care who you get somebody with a helicopter down. Okay. Her idea was to call the news helicopters because of the traffic stuff. So she's in my other room doing whatever she's doing.
So you call 911?
Yes.
Okay. And your wife calls for helicopters from the news people?
Yeah, well, I think she called a couple of people, some kind of helicopter rental service maybe or something like that. I'm not sure what she did. I'll have to get the details from her. They hung up on her. Okay. I get irritated. Okay. I said, I know they're probably going to make fun of her accent or something. People do it all the time. And or she wasn't clear on the phone. Or they thought it was a prank. Okay. And I'm thinking, oh my God, she got somebody.
Yeah, but he didn't pay the $2 million in damages. He paid 36K in fines.
I said, who is this?
And only 30 days in jail. Seems like an awful lot of work to frame this guy.
Called the Federal Aviation, FAA, Channel 9 News Denver, then Emergency Dispatch, and reported that Falcon was missing.
36K is a lot, though. Yeah, but what he said is that they wanted him to pay the $2 million, which he didn't. He paid 36K in fines. So I don't think that was the reason.
Fill out an affidavit, which is a complete utter lie. An hour later, to get a search warrant for my house. So they influenced the public official to sign a search warrant, and they lied on the affidavit. Now this Jim Broderick, he's up for 8 counts of perjury, and several of those he perjured himself on an affidavit. You know, these guys, man, this is what they do at Fort Collins. This is what the Fort Collins cops do. To prove...
I got you, trees.
The phone calls in an order I made them. I called the FAA. They told me to call 911. I did. And you can hear my voice in the background. If you crank it up, hear my voice in the background. And I said, as soon as the guy picks the phone up, I said, do you guys have a fucking helicopter? You can hear it in the background. Listen to it.
Hold on a second for me, okay? I'm going to send you to Larimer County. Stay on the phone.
I don't know the name.
My understanding is, and I'm afraid I haven't seen the timeline on all this, so I'll tell you what I believe to be the case today. Our understanding is that his first call was to the FAA, and that the second call was made to 9 News with the belief that they had a helicopter that might be able to assist, and that sometime afterwards they called 911.
So Larimer County Sheriff's Department is solely responsible for causing the media frenzy.
The interrogation of Richard Heaney.
This is fucking crazy.
They lied to me to get me to go down to the
Holy
station. I
shit.
get down there, and they basically try to ambush me with these questions, the interrogation. They didn't say they were going to interrogate me.
I think Bob's got a strategy to maybe help you get these assholes off your back.
Great.
That's the idea.
All right, thanks. Thank you. And then they set up a, at the same time, to ambush my wife at the house. She wasn't read her rights, by the way. So then they asked me to take a polygraph. Now you got to know something. From that morning of when the flying saucer event happened to the time I'm down here at the station, it was 52 hours with no sleep. I've got press hanging outside my window. They're beating down my door. The phone's ringing off the hook. I can't sleep. I mean, I was completely out of my mind. So then
It seems like he still hasn't
slept
slept.
at the station, and it was 473.
All right. That's not good.
What is it?
473.
Okay, what does that mean? You need a snack or something?
I'm supposed to be at 100.
Okay, so how do you get it down? Do
I gotta take
got
a shot.
soda or
Let's
you take a shot?
Yeah,
Okay.
When you have high blood sugar, you're extremely tired, even somewhat lethargic. On top of the fact that I didn't have the sleep, I'm out of my mind. They asked me to go take a polygraph. So I wanted to get the hell out of the station. So I said, fine, eventually. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, maybe,
so
Dave.
I tried to call some
That
attorneys.
makes more
It was
sense. It makes the
Saturday. I'm
resub
sure they
Knox.
set that up, so I couldn't call any attorneys. So I go into their polygraph room, and I'm trying to take their friggin' polygraph. Now, in most states, I'm going to read you this. In most states, police may not use overbearing measures to coerce an involuntary confession. Examples of improper or illegal interrogation tactics may include continuing to question you even after you ask for a lawyer, depriving you of
Yeah,
food,
polygraphs
water,
literally don't work.
or sleep,
It's really dumb.
beating you or threatening harm or greater punishment, and or making false promises of leniency in exchange for a confession. All right, so here's the polygraph examiner, Kevin Mall, doing the interrogation.
When we get through the questions, we'll take a break. And
He was pardoned in 2020.
Yeah. Because I can see you're struggling a little bit.
What?
We'll take
Pardoned?
A break and we're going to review the questions.
He only went to jail for 30 days. What do they mean? They just said, hey, we were wrong? It's like he was still in jail.
Okay. Okay, Richard, you are going to have to focus and concentrate. And stay awake.
Relieving the fines?
Most certainly will help.
Okay.
Force and keeping your eyes open.
It's not exactly helpful, though.
So
Fucking 11 years later.
Richard, you're just not able to.
Thanks to Reset Big Papa.
So Kevin Mall wrote in his affidavit dated 10/26/2009, Mr. Heaney did not make any admissions. However,
Polygraphs work
he began to
90% of the time.
reiterate
90% of the
that he
time.
had symptoms of problems with his blood sugar level and his sleep.
Do you work for the polygraph manufacturers or something? Polygraphs work 90% of the time. Your dad has to have a job there or something, and he's telling you that. I've got some bad news for you. Holy shit. There's a lot of contributing factors to polygraphs, positives and negatives. It's not like the end-all be-all for truth serum or anything. There is study upon study upon study done on the efficacy of polygraphs.
It has returned. This, however...
Actually, isn't it... Hold on. I could be wrong, but isn't it also illegal to use polygraphs these days because they are so highly inaccurate sometimes? Let me see. I thought there was a big thing about that. I could be completely misremembering, but I thought I remembered a big write-up about why they stopped using polygraphs in a lot of cases. Here it is. They don't use... Okay, it can't be used in, like, court as evidence, according to this. It's more of like a supplementary thing, but not admissible as evidence in a trial. Yeah. Okay. I knew it was something like that.
To derail the investigation process and was not
Doesn't measure truth, it's near completely inaccurate. It measures... What the fuck was it?
This guy saying it was
I don't remember.
no medical concern. When you have high blood sugar, the blood circulating through your body, it gets thick like syrup. I hadn't slept for 52 hours when I first got there. Hours are rolling by. I mean, I can't even stay awake. To derail it? I was out of my mind. Plus all the stress. You got the press out in front of the house. Try to imagine that. They're making noise. I mean, they got machines, and they got people banging on my door night and day, lights shining in my windows. I'm trying to derail the investigation. They will stop at nothing to prosecute somebody. It's like a conveyor belt of convictions. And they all get promoted based on that.
Mayumi's confession.
When I
This one was pretty fucked in Internet Historian's video.
5 times the same question, most times throughout the day, just to get the right answer out of her. And so, yeah, I was a bit upset that they
Thanks to
didn't
Prime
ask her
Justice.
questions, but imagine, she didn't have a Japanese interpreter.
Do you understand what I mean by hoax? Okay.
Back then I was thinking hoax means
Thanks to Prime Sloppy.
exhibition, and the word was in my life. I never had that word, so
Thanks for 5 gift subs, Nosferatu. Thank you, man. Hope you've been
now
well.
I look up a dictionary and look up the word, and oh my God, that's honestly I thought.
Not only that, Mayumi's English was so bad that Wife Swap had to subtitle her in 2 different episodes.
Climb up on trees. They act like monkeys. Kids are not really enjoying having fun.
Thanks to resub, Gavin.
So they basically ambushed Mayumi, and they asked her to get in the police car and leave her kids behind. We never leave our kids behind any place. And there were some cops there. Who knows what questions they were asking my kids. They towed my wife off down to the police station to ask her these questions. And so she separated from the kids.
To be fair, like, wouldn't the main confession come from the kids? If the kids are saying it's not a hoax, that's probably pretty reliable, right? Because he was super eager to say, like, for the show, but then they could never get him to say, like, for this, you know?
Selfishness. I wish
If the kids were in on it, like, they would absolutely tell the truth.
one of us can stay with the kids, but it may not happen.
I imagine kids are hard to trust for this sort of thing. Well, that's where this whole thing stems from, because one of the kids said that he did it for a show. And that's where all of this came from.
That's not my goal here.
Because the kids said
My
that.
goal here, though, is to get you to tell the truth, which it sounds like you're doing. Okay? And obviously there are going to be consequences, but I don't
Thanks to
decide
Prime
those
MILF and
consequences
resub Sahara.
But I want to be able to go
Good to see you, Sahara.
and make those decisions. As long as you're telling me everything, you know, I'm going to throw that in that mix.
And they didn't even read her rights. They didn't tell her that this was an investigation. And if they did, she wouldn't know the difference anyway. She doesn't watch TV. She doesn't
Yeah, you've only
understand
just started,
that
Cornelius.
She has to be read her rights. Doesn't understand that.
And you knew that he was somewhere in the house, but you didn't know he was up in the attic?
I then asked her, you knew he, referring to Falcon, was hiding somewhere in the home, right? Mayumi responded, yes.
And you knew that he was somewhere in the house, but you didn't know he was up in the attic? So who told Falcon? Where was Falcon? Was Falcon in the attic?
Thanks for resub C-Pod.
Which I really didn't know.
Okay, well, where was he?
In the tier 1 NG.
You assumed he was in the attic?
No, I didn't. He was, but I didn't know about it.
Okay.
Where he was.
I specifically asked her if her son Falcon was really in the attic the entire time. She stated she thought he was, but wasn't sure.
Did you guys build this for the purpose of this hoax? Is that the whole purpose of building it?
Honestly, this experiment itself is not only for this, to build, I don't know which automation, 3D, LAB, our invention.
Thanks to the gift sub
in the
link.
future, we want to bring it up to that level.
Okay, so you do want to have this be a legitimate experiment.
Okay, that makes sense. The polygraph being 90% came from Professor Don Grubin, who is apparently a polygraph expert and CEO of a polygraph training company. Yeah, I mean, that sounds about par for the course. Thanks to Tier 1, Jimmy. That makes sense. I don't really want to finish this. I think I've made up my mind. I think Richard's done a really good job of laying it all out. I'm a lot more convinced that it was an experiment than a hoax. I think Internet Historian did a great job of putting it all out there. Again, nothing Richard says has ever been proven a lie, whereas multiple things the investigators have said have been proven lies. What about the kid? The kid told a story about when he met by the show. He said he was talking about something that another guy mentioned to him, and then the kid never once ever mentioned the show again. You're dumb then. Well then explain it to me. What am I missing? After watching all of these, literally nothing Richard ever said was a lie. But there's a ton of lies from the cops. Like a ton. If you're more of an expert on it, then please, enlighten me. I'm very fascinated by the story now. Take it away, Vevo. The stage is yours. What did I miss? They very much lied in court. Like, 3 off the top of my head were... They lied about how big it was, even after they immediately confirmed Richard's measurements were accurate. They went back and changed it. They took pictures of the site showing the stun gun and the 3 9-volt batteries, and then said that it was actually only 2 1.5 volts and no stun gun. They also lied to his wife. Like, there's tons that they lied about, but there is nothing that I have seen from any of this where Richard had lied, and has been proven lied. So, Vevo, please, take it away. Thanks to Tier 1 Binky and the Resub Buster. This is a lot deeper than I thought it would go. So much for a drop of blood from Richard Heaney. I feel fucking terrible for him. His whole life and family. I mean, I still think his parenting is a bit questionable during all of this to completely remove his kids from human beings. I don't think that was the right call. But his whole life and family's life was completely changed forever as a result of this. Thanks, Risa Boomerang. Not reading her rights alone is a crime. Yeah, and any credibility on the police part should be thrown. The second that he mentioned that her rights were never read, and then you listen to the audio of that, and they never even defined half the words they were using when she clearly didn't speak English super well, that should immediately throw away everything they say in that interview. It should not be an investigation, or admissible in court for the investigation. The entire thing stems from one thing a 6-year-old said one time on TV. And then at no point ever did anything else ever come out to corroborate it being a hoax that wasn't from the cops and the prosecution team. Most of which were proven lies. So it's pretty crazy. What a story. And someone said he was pardoned in 2020. So, I mean, wouldn't that immediately prove you wrong, Vevo? And make you dumb? Balloon Boy's parents pardoned by Colorado governor. Fucking classic Twitch chat. You're fucking dumb for believing this. He's clearly guilty. Pardoned. That's pretty sweet. At least there's almost a happy ending. This guy's whole life was consumed by it. At least he finally gets some peace of mind. Nice. So it got scrubbed. What a wild ride. I did not think the Balloon Boy lore would be so deep and crazy. Thanks for the gift some time.